Fire Emblem has slowly become one of Nintendo's most iconic strategy role-playing games, thanks partly to the success of recent releases and to the addition of lead characters in the Smash Bros. Roster over the years. With this being the second main game on the Nintendo Switch, is it an engaging experience, or has this doused its fiery success? Well, thank you to Nintendo for the review code, and now let's find out. In the continent of Helios, every 1000 years, the divine dragon Alier is awoken to defeat the fell dragon known as Sombron. It does this by gathering the emblem rings spread across the land. These rings house a legendary hero from a time long ago and offer the bearer tremendous power. Alier bears the emblem Marth and along with their stewards embark on the quest to visit each neighbouring nation and unite against the common evil. The story overall was enjoyable, and I'd be lying if I said that it did not keep me engrossed throughout, especially when seeing old faces in the forms of the emblem heroes. To allay any fears, you do not need to have played the previous games to learn who's who, and information is readily available within this particular game. This Fire Emblem game does go back to focusing on its turn-based strategy roots, whilst adding a few improvements. Fans of the previous Three Houses game may want to take note of this, as the focus on non-battle related activities as seen in the monastery have been either watered down massively or removed altogether in exchange for a more tactical and action oriented gameplay loop. The story segments are still here, as well as the chance to bond with characters, but it's more akin to games before Awakening on the 3DS. This may sound like a deal breaker and will surely divide fans, but personally I welcome it. As popular as that previous entry is to this day, being the best selling game in the franchise, I did find the ratio of activities in contrast to battling a bit exhausting. The gameplay loop here will see a story segment play out, followed by a battle. Upon victory, you'll be able to openly walk around the battlefield and talk to your team members, gather resources and even adopt local fauna. Although a slightly unexpected change, the chance to dive into the battlefield in a third-person perspective upon victory does create a slightly deeper sense of immersion as you try and gather as much as possible after the battle. It made the many grinding moments a bit more fulfilling, mainly due to levelling up your warriors and gathering much needed items. Weapons don't degrade either, meaning that inventory management will become less cumbersome. Staves and healing ones, however, do break after a certain number of uses. The signature weapon triangle makes a return in this game, and with it a few quality of life improvements. In previous games, swords had an advantage over axes, axes over lances and lances over swords, whereas previously this would cause the attacker with the upper hand to have greater accuracy during the fight. This game adds the break mechanic. Attacking an axe wielder with a sword will cause them to drop their weapon, nullifying any chance to counter-attack until the next turn. Furthermore, arts have an advantage over bows, tomes and knives. In past games, healers could not defend themselves unless they changed class and were able to wield tomes. An added feature to healers and mages is the ability of also using hand-to-hand combat. This makes them far more versatile and efficient on the battlefield, as they can now be used to finish off bow or knife wielding enemies, as well as causing them to break. Similarly, many classes have been given passive skills, such as axe fighters having the backup skill which allows them to take part in an attack initiated by an ally within certain range. Then there are the emblem rings themselves, the main mechanic of this game. These house the spirits of some of the greatest heroes in the franchise as mentioned earlier, and can be equipped onto any unit of your choosing. These will offer specific skills and buffs, as well as abilities that may not be accessible by the current class. As an example, Emblem Marth will bestow his skills, signature moves and weapons. The longer the bearer has the ring, the greater the bond between them. This allows for specific skills to be passed onto the bearer to use without needing to wear the specific ring. It can be slightly overwhelming to grasp, but when you learn how everything works, you'll soon make the most of this mechanic. This is also another way to get your units to become more proficient with specific weapon types, as changing their class will require that caveat. When the engage meter is full, the ring bearer and emblem spirit will fuse together, becoming a force to be reckoned with, at least for 3 turns anyway. Although the transformation is temporary, it allows the player to carry out some great engage attacks and support spells. Mikai's Great Sacrifice, for example, will heal all units on the battlefield at the expense of her own HP. Then there's Celica's Warp Ragnarok, a powerful engage attack that allows her to teleport within a 10 space radius and unleash a devastating spell. All these strategies and more are available to the player, and the key is knowing when to use them, although there are pools of blue energy on the battlefield that will regenerate the engage meter. Battle overall is as good as ever, with some great cinematic angles during big attacks. Again, the slight changes in how certain units behave on the battlefield and how the weapon tree operates will keep both veteran and newcomers on their toes, and the developers have done a great job in keeping to a beloved formula whilst tweaking it slightly to keep it fresh. Random battles within the map have also made a return, which allows players to farm much needed resources and experience points. Be sure to be on the lookout for paralog missions, as these will have a recruitable character. The game can still be played in classic mode with permadeath activated, or where your units retire off the battlefield when defeated. The rewind mechanic is also back, allowing the player to correct any mistakes made during skirmishes. The Somniel is your base of operations and where a lot of the preparative activities take place. It is somewhat smaller than the monastery from the previous game, and the player can navigate through each area by pressing the X button and opening the map. As you progress through the game, the Somniel will expand on activities and catalogue of items from its shops, so it's worth checking out every now and again. The activities that will keep you coming back most frequently will probably be the arena and the ring chamber. Firstly, the arena is a great place to level up characters, increase bonds and learn inherited skills from emblems. Normal arena battles can be carried out 3 times a game day, with emblem battles being restricted to the amount of bond fragments accumulated, a currency needed to carry out certain activities. The ring chamber allows the player to inherit skills from emblems at the cost of skill points, as well as create standard rings that will boost different stats. This may become a time sink for some players as they try to attain the best skills and rings for their party. It is here where you can improve each emblem's weapon, although the items needed for this are rewarded after carrying out a few online battles at the Tower of Trials, also found at the Somniel. I enjoyed Fire Emblem Engage far more than expected, mainly because it focuses on the strategy battling and character improvement gameplay whilst keeping many old mechanics new and fresh. I personally could have done without the Somniel in its current state, where you walk around and carry out tasks, and would maybe have preferred a menu based system which would have just been a bit more time efficient and snappy. I know many people wanted this to be more akin to Free Houses, and they may be slightly deflated that it isn't, but it will be a case of them missing out on what's available rather than missing what's gonna miss if they choose not to pick this one up. Gameplay gets 19 out of 20. Controls are responsive and work well, with their user interface making it an easy to pick up experience, although a tough one to master. The lack of a touchscreen option during battles at least would have been a good idea, but not essential, and controls get 18 out of 20. Fire Emblem Engage is full to the brim of colourful and entertaining, fully voice acted cutscenes which help narrate the story and the drama that ties into it. Some of the narrative is a bit hit and miss, but this will vary from person to person and your tolerance to different types of voice acting and anime comic relief where applicable. The frame rate is fine overall and the character models and assets do their job, although some popping and jagged edges were visible for most of the playthrough, both in docked and handheld mode. The fusion of characters with the emblem spirits is very much akin to the fusion mashup seen in Dragon Ball Z, where the traits of both characters are blended yet still evident. The special engage attacks are a sight for sore eyes and really do evoke the kind of power that the emblem rings bestow. There are detailed and concise guides with a decent font size that help the player to take in all the information displayed on screen, which can be daunting at first glance. Everything can be broken down by pressing X and hovering over the information. The audio is of a high standard, both with the voice acting and the soundtrack. Some of the series' most iconic songs have had a remix here and there, and hearing your main character talk really does bring their personality to life. Visuals increase the grandeur of the action and score 18 out of 20, audio assists with this wonderfully too and scores 19 out of 20. Fire Emblem Engage costs £49.99 and regional equivalents are on your screen now. There is a physical version as well as a collector's edition which comes with an art book, steelbook and art cards. The expansion pass can be purchased separately for around £27 and at the time of release will give the player some in-game items as well as cosmetic items and the first pack which includes 2 emblem rings. The game is over 20 chapters long and can easily rack up a playtime of over 30 hours on the base game alone. If you take into account the side skirmishes and the Tower of Trials, not to mention the harder modes, this game will keep you busy for a long time. I would say the base game's price is fair, perhaps slightly high, but it is the standard first party pricing. If you shop around for the physical copy, you can probably get it for about £8 cheaper, give or take, and I would say that the expansion pass is not necessary at the moment, at least not at this price, although seeing how much content was included in the Free Houses DLC, it will probably be worth keeping an eye on as time goes on. Value for the base game gets 18 out of 20. To conclude, Fire Emblem Engage feels more like a celebration of the franchise's history. There are familiar faces and some only known to us via cameos and fan-translated ROMs that exist out there. There is a lot to do and take in from this game, and as far as story goes, this is the first one I've personally enjoyed since Path of Radiance. Some may feel slightly disappointed at the lack of weekly planning and preparation seen in the previous instalment, but those gameplay mechanics were somewhat new to the franchise, debuting in Free Houses, and the message is clear here that this one has gone back to basics, which is a positive for me at least, as I was put off a tad by having too many social mechanics in the previous game. Whether you are an old or new Fire Emblem fan, this is a good place to forge your own legend in the ever-growing franchise and prove that age-old mechanics can be reinvented. If anything, I hope that this might get Nintendo releasing remastered versions of past games that never left Japan. Fire Emblem Engage gets a SwitchUp score of 92%. Thank you everybody for watching this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Please do remember to leave a like if you did. A big thank you to Azdin for writing this one for us. Please do check out his channel, Grinning Wolf Games. There will be a link to it in the top pinned comment. Don't forget you can pick up your eShop cards from our website, switchup.gg. You can save yourself 10% off the price if you use the code SwitchUp, and don't forget that's only available until the end of January, so this will be the perfect time to do so. And there's also a link down there to Play Asia, which, whilst not necessarily helpful for this particular game, it can get you 5% off of an order from there if you are looking to import any games. Another big thank you to our Patreons and our channel members for your continued support, and to each and every one of you for watching our videos. Take care, and until next time, happy gaming.